Okay, everybody, welcome to my Xgen demo. Um, this is going to be a pretty long one, and you're going to need some stuff ahead of time before you start. I'm going to be rendering in Renderman, so I would suggest you download Renderman 21. I'll put a link in this video to where you can download it. It's the latest version. Once you have Renderman installed, you'll get this shelf here. Um, this is not required to use Xgen, but it is the rendering solution I'll be using if you want to follow along exactly what I'm doing. You'll also want to make sure you have Xgen enabled under your plugin manager. Xgen toolkit.mll. Make sure you have this one loaded. I would uncheck this Xgen mr.py. That is for mental ray, and if you don't have mental ray installed, this will screw things up big time. So make sure that's unchecked. Xgen mr.py, uncheck those, and make sure your renderman for maya.mll is loaded as well. And then you'll have your renderman set up. So for Xgen, first thing that you want to do for Xgen, and this is the most important step, this will not work unless you do this. You have to set a project. So go to File, Project Window. I'm just going to call this, make it new, and call this Xgen Class Demo. I'm going to stick it on my desktop and hit Accept. That's going to create a new project. Go out here, just make sure it's there, and it's here. And go ahead and set your project to whatever you just called that. So mine is Xgen Class Demo. I'm going to set the project, and then you're going to want to save your file just to confirm that your project is set. So now this is set. I'm just going to call this 01 base and hit Save As. So that's the most important thing you can do before starting Xgen. If you don't do that, none of the mass will work, none of the archives will work, none of that stuff's going to work. So make sure you do that. So let's go ahead and get Xgen up and running. So under your generate, this may be in a different spot in 2017, I'm not sure. Under generate Xgen editor, you're going to get this window here. So Xgen works like this. You have geometry that things grow off of, and you have the geometry that's grown. So you have your ground and your grass, your ground and your tree, your ground and your flowers. It doesn't have to be ground, it could be any object. So when you first start Xgen up, I'm going to hit this Create New Description button. Guess we need a ground first, don't we? So I'm going to import my ground, which is in here. The ground object, I'm going to import that. So this will be what I'll be growing my geometry off of. So we're going to select that and hit Create New Description. So this dialog box. So the description is the actual plant or object that you're going to grow. So we're going to start with grass. And it's also going to ask you create new collection. So the collection is the collection of these descriptions. And this can be anything, but for now our collection is going to be this ground object. So I'm just going to call the collection landscape. This is going to include my grass, my trees. This allows you to create all different varieties of collections on all different kind of objects. So if you wanted to grow things on ground and on rock and off of, say, or trees. You can make collections to do that. For our grass, we're going to make these. What kind of primitives do you want? We're going to switch that to groomable splines randomly across the surface, and we're going to use the grooming tools to make the grass. So we're going to hit create, and this is what you're going to get. You can see it created these little tubey things, or card things, or whatever you want to call them, everywhere. And it brings up our Xgen panel. So the first thing we're going to want to do is set this to render in Renderman. So we're going to just click Renderman, as simple as that. And then we're going to need a light in here. So under your Renderman shelf, right click. Let's see, I want an environment. So Pixar environment daylight. We're going to click that. And then I'm going to click IPR just to make sure that it's working. And I'm not going to refresh this too often because it takes up a lot of CPU and I'm recording at the same time. But you can see we've got these little pieces of grass growing all over the place. I'll bring this up from time to time to show you what the render looks like. But for now, I'm just going to close that, discard it, and start messing with this stuff. So you get all kinds of tools here, and I'm not going to go through every single tool does. That would take hours and hours and hours. You guys can research this on your own or ask me. Under this eye, I'm going to click Update Preview Automatically. It's just a preference that I've got. And then we're going to go to Primitives, and we're going to crank our density up and make it pretty high here. And I'm going to, under your primitive attributes, you get all kinds of stuff. Again, I'm not going to go through all this. You can change length and width. You can change these to a slider. So you click this little arrow over here, reset the slider, reset the slider. You can see everything kind of went away. So now I'm going to grow this stuff back up. So now I get this. And I'm going to make a more grass-like shape here. With this is just your typical curve spline editor deal. I want these to be pretty thin. I'm going to change this to smooth interpolation. Just have basic grass. You can edit this stuff like crazy. So this is just a basic demo. Our grass is kind of tall, so let's bring it down. Bring the width in just a bit. It looks about right. I'm going to change this, crank this density up. And it looks good. I'm also going to put a shader on here. So under preview and output, Renderman settings, you have this initial shading group. I'm just going to apply a create Pixar Disney shader. The default is blue. So let's bring up the hyper shade. We can change that to green. So here's our surface. Double click. Change this just to a green, dark green, to generic green grass. A yellow. Again, feel free to tweak it all you want. So I'm going to shut that down. So now you can see we've got this grass all over the place, which we don't want. Say this is just a typical landscape and this little incline here is rocks. You're not going to have grass growing on your rocks. Say, I think how we'll do this, we'll put some trees up here and some shrubs. So we don't want a ton of grass up here as well. So you're probably thinking, well, where do I set where the grass goes and where it doesn't go? So you can do that in many ways. I'm just going to show you the quick and dirty way, which is to make a mask. So under primitives, generator, attributes, you have this mask. I'm going to hit create a map. We're going to call this grass. And the start color, we're going to start with black, and then black is no grass, white is grass. So that'll give us a good starting point. And I'm going to hit create. And now we've got this black mass here. So one of the first mistakes people make is they start painting and nothing happens, and you're just like, what's going on? So you want to click save here, this little disk, just to make sure you save your map, and that sets this parameter to actually start working. If you don't click this, it will not work. So make sure you just click save, and I click this whenever I finish an edit, just to get the update right. So now we're going to go in here, and I'm just holding down Control to select the inverse of the default mask. This is black, and then the inverse would be white. We're going to have a lot of grass down here, none here, and then we're just going to patch in some grass up here. Gotta go up here, and then just kind of dot it around. I mean, we're not going for aesthetics right now because I'm just teaching you the basics. So that looks good, and I'm going to click save again, and then you're going to see we have our grass back. I'm going to change the viewport lighting. That's all fine. So there's our patches of grass. Really simple, really quick, and this mask can be edited whenever you want by just clicking this little paintbrush, and you can go back and edit it all you want. So I'm going to pull this density up a bit more, and then I'm going to save my file. I suggest you save a lot because Xgen can be kind of buggy. In 2016, they made a lot of improvements, and in 2017, I'm sure there's even more improvements. I'm just going to do a little render here real quick just to see how it's looking. I have limited screen space because I'm trying to keep it all in this one window, but I'll zoom in here. And you can change your mask resolution to get a better solution. Like right now it's kind of rounded in certain areas. You can use noise, all kinds of stuff. You can see here's our grass. Really quick, really simple, and it works well. So let's move on to our next piece of geo. So the next thing we're going to do is put in some trees. So I'm going to select the ground, which has got our collection on it. And we're going to click right here. It says create new Xgen description. And for this, we need trees, right? So how Xgen handles geometry, external geometry, is you have these things called archives. So we're going to click make a new description, all these trees. We're going to add it to the existing collection, which is our ground landscape. Instead of splines, we're going to click custom geometry archives, and we're going to go ahead and let it go randomly across the surface and hit create. You're going to get an error message that says no archive files list, or the archive file list is empty because we haven't made an archive yet. That's fine. We're going to turn our density down to like 0.01 because when this brings in the tree, it's going to put it everywhere, and we don't want to crash our system. So this is the archive window or drop or area under the primitive attributes, and you can see we have this list here, and it's going to say archive files, which right now we don't have anything. So let's bring in a tree. And this is a tree that I made during the speed tree demo. And there are FBXs. Here's our tree and our shrub, and I'll bring that in next. So we'll import the tree. And our tree is huge, so let's just scale this down. Scale to 1. Still big, we'll just keep scaling until it fits our landscape. And what you want to definitely make sure is that this tree is at 0 origin down here. Make sure it's at your origin. Hide all this stuff. Just make sure, just snap it. Make sure it's at origin when you make your archive file. So go back to Xgen, and under archive files, you have your object selected. You're going to hit create from selection, and it's going to bring up your archive window. So this is incredibly important. The destination folder, you want to make sure it says local archives project Xgen archives, and this is going to set it to your project file. That's why we set our project file is for this. It will verify that that's where it's at right here. You'll see it's going to the archives. You can call it a name. We'll just call this tree. You can do LODs. We're not going to mess with that. And it can also be animated, so you have an animated XBX file. We're not going to mess with that either. So we're going to hit export. It's going to say save your scene. Yep. And it's going to process. This shouldn't take too long to process a file. Just let it keep going. And now it's processed, and you're like, well, nothing happened. Well, something did happen. We just have to go and get it. So we're going to hit add, and we're going to go to our demo file here, which, go and find it. Xgen. Yeah, it gets tricky. I need to get out to my desktop, so it's Xgen class demo, and then in your project file, you'll have an Xgen folder. You'll see archives, and then tree.zarc or xarc. Hit open. It's going to say you have material files. We're not dealing with texture, so just click yes. And now we've got trees all over the place. They're white because of material is not set up, and I'm not going to deal with material because we're not dealing with texture. So what we're going to do with this is create another mask, just like we did last time. So I'm going to go up here, create map. I'm going to call this trees. Start with black and hit create. Now I've got this X because I haven't saved it. Hit save. Click here, and there we go. So I just click the disk and then click the paintbrush. So now we don't have any trees. This is our origin tree that we made the archive out of. And now we're gonna paint. We want some trees, so let's put a bunch up here. Maybe 1 or 2 down here. Then we're gonna click save, and it's gonna come up. Now, this can happen at times where it depends on what kind of object you've got, where it'll need more surface area for your trees to come up. So like down here, you just make a big area. Didn't click save. So grab this. And our density is really low as well. So when I start cranking this density, see, that's exactly why I lowered it. So now you can see we've got trees down here, and I don't like these being down here, so let's save. all this. Save. For some reason this doesn't want to play nice. So let's bring it up. Not totally sure why that's happening. Something I can look into. You guys let me know if that happens for you. These values, these paint values work on a 0 to 1 attribute. So if it's gray, it'll still produce trees. Save that. That works. Good enough. So click off. And we lost our other trees. City up. 3 again. There we go. So now we have trees and grass. Yay! Let's see what this looks like rendered. There we go. We have trees and grass in a relatively quick amount of time. And this is how you would create a landscape using Xgen. One thing we're going to do is, and I'll post this script, you can see all of our trees are just kind of all pointing in the same direction. They're not rotating, they're not randomizing, and that's not cool. We don't want that. So what you can do is you get all this lovely attribute, all these attributes over here. Twist, tilt, all this stuff. So you can see we can go to twist. You can load an expression for these. You can see your geometry. You get like geo rotate. You get all kinds of stuff in here. Now you can see how they're rotating. You have angles now. Just kind of randomize this a bit. And all this stuff is driven by expressions, and expressions are way too in depth to get into in a beginning tutorial. But I do have a few that I've pre-wrote, and I will share these on the video file. One thing that you want to do is you want to set your tilt U to use this expression, because right now it's just going to follow the normal and your trees are going to be all over the place. So we're going to want to create an expression for that. And we're just going to use this one, except I've got a syntax error. I'll have to check and see what's going on with that. Tilt U, except, there we go. Now you can see all the trees are pointing up. They're not following the normal, which is what we want. Oh wait, this in the wrong, oh, put it in the wrong slot. That's why that didn't work. So let's delete this. Let's reset this to a slider. I think that worked. Let's accept it again, see if we get an error. Yeah, there we go. And then our tilt V, this is, we're going to use another expression. For some reason these expressions don't, I'll have to double check these before I post them. These are kind of old expressions. I think some stuff got messed up when I copy and pasted them in. Oh, nope, still works. So these are now rotating randomly, or they're supposed to be rotating randomly through a value. Anyways, this stuff is controlled by expressions, as you can see, and I'll post the expressions that I'm talking about just in case these don't work. You can just do all kinds of stuff to randomize this with expressions. And if you search Xgen expressions, you'll come up with a lot of stuff. You can edit those as well. And there you go. So all you have to do now is you can add as many archives as you want. And each archive you can select and make it different trees, shrubs, plants, whatever you want to use. This is what I'm using here. Different densities. I would suggest if you're gonna do like if you were gonna do shrubs next, I would make a new description. I wouldn't add to this list. Usually if you want to add to multiple archives, you want them to kind of be the same thing. So if you wanted multiple, say you did 3 or 4 different versions of this tree, you would add it into this archive, or into this archive list. So they all have the same attributes. So you don't have to keep doing the same attributes over and over again. And that is it. That's the overview of Xgen. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll post some expressions up, maybe with a little bit of an explanation, support files. This should be more than enough to make you dangerous and get you started. Check out our RPR one more time.